Hello, everyone. Today we will start the study of the arm muscles and forearm muscles. First, let's take a look at the arm muscles. The arm muscles cover the humerus and are divided into anterior and posterior groups by two medial and lateral intermuscular septa. The anterior group consists of flexors, and the posterior group consists of extensors. The anterior group includes the superficial biceps brachii and the deep brachialis muscle and coracobrachialis muscle. The biceps brachii is spindle-shaped and has two heads at its origin. The long head of biceps brachii originates from the supraglenoid tubercle of the scapula via a long tendon, passes through the shoulder joint capsule, and descends through the intertubercular groove. The short head of biceps brachii is on the medial side and originates from the coracoid process of the scapula. The two heads merge into a single muscle belly in the lower part of the arm, transition downward into a tendon, and insert into the radial tuberosity. Function: it flexes the elbow joint. When the forearm is in the pronated position, it can supinate the forearm. In addition, it can also assist in flexing the shoulder joint. The coracobrachialis is located posteromedially to the short head of the biceps brachii. It originates from the coracoid process of the scapula and inserts into the medial side of the middle part of the humerus. Function: it assists in flexing and adducting the shoulder joint. The brachialis is located deep to the biceps brachii. It originates from the anterior surface of the lower half of the humeral shaft and inserts into the ulnar tuberosity. Function: it flexes the elbow joint. The posterior group is the triceps brachii, which has three heads at its origin. The long head of triceps brachii originates from the infraglenoid tubercle of the scapula via a long tendon and descends between the teres major and teres minor muscles. The lateral head of triceps brachii and medial head of triceps brachii originate from the bone surfaces superolaterally and infromedially to the radial groove on the posterior surface of the humerus, respectively. The three heads descend and insert into the olecranon of the ulna via a tough tendon. Function: it extends the elbow joint. The long head can also extend and adduct the shoulder joint posteriorly. Next, let's take a look at the forearm muscles. The forearm muscles are located around the ulna and radius, and are divided into two groups: the anterior group, flexors, and the posterior group, extensors. They mainly move the wrist joint and interphalangeal joint. In addition to flexors and extensors, there are also rotators, which are of great significance for the flexible movement of the hand. Most of the forearm muscles are long muscles, with their bellies located proximally and slender tendons distally. Therefore, the upper half of the forearm is bulging, and the lower half gradually tapers. First, let's look at the anterior group, which consists of 9 muscles arranged in 4 layers. The first layer has 5 muscles, which are arranged from radial to ulnar as follows. 1. Brachioradialis muscle. It originates from above the lateral epicondyle of the humerus and descends to insert into the radial styloid process. Function: it flexes the elbow joint. The other 4 muscles together originate from the medial epicondyle of the humerus and the deep fascia of the forearm via the common flexor tendon. 2. Pronator teres muscle. It inserts into the middle part of the lateral surface of the radius. Function: pronates the forearm and flexes the elbow joint. 3. Flexor carpi radialis muscle. It inserts into the base of the second metacarpal via a long tendon. Function: flexes the elbow and wrist, and abducts the wrist. For da palmaris longus muscle, its belly is small and its tendon is slender, connecting to the palmar aponeurosis. Function: flexes the wrist and tightens the palmar aponeurosis. 5. Flexor carpi ulnaris muscle. It inserts into the pisiform bone. Function: flexes the wrist and adducts the wrist. The brachioradialis is superficially located, with constant blood supply and innervation, making it easy to locate. Its removal does not affect forearm function, so it is an excellent donor for muscle flap and myocutaneous flap transplantation. The second layer has only 1 muscle, the flexor digitorum superficialis muscle. The upper end of this muscle is covered by the superficial muscles, and it originates from the medial epicondyle of the humerus and the anterior surfaces of the ulna and radius. Its muscle bundles transition downward into 4 tendons, which pass through the carpal tunnel and palm, and enter the flexor tendon sheaths of the 2nd to 5th fingers respectively. Each tendon splits into 2 slips, inserting into the lateral sides of the body of the middle phalanx. Function: it flexes the proximal interphalangeal joints, metacarpal phalangeal joints, and the rest. The third layer has 2 muscles. Flexor pollicis longus muscle, located in the lateral half. It originates from the anterior surface of the radius and the interosseous membrane of the forearm. It passes through the carpal tunnel and palm via a long tendon and inserts into the base of the distal phalanx of the thumb. Function: flexes the interphalangeal joint and metacarpal phalangeal joint of the thumb. 2. Flexor digitorum profundus muscle, located in the medial half. It originates from the anterior surface of the ulna and the interosseous membrane of the forearm. It divides downward into 4 tendons, which enter the palm through the carpal tunnel, pass deep to the tendons of the flexor digitorum superficialis, enter the flexor tendon sheaths of the 2nd to 5th fingers respectively, pass between the 2 slips of the flexor digitorum superficialis tendons within the sheaths, and insert into the bases of the distal phalanges. Function: flexes the distal interphalangeal joints, proximal interphalangeal joints, metacarpal phalangeal joints of the 2nd to 5th fingers, and the rest. The fourth layer is the pronator quadratus muscle, a small square muscle attached to the anterior surfaces of the distal ends of the radius and ulna. It originates from the ulna and inserts into the radius. Function: pronates the forearm. Next, we will learn about the posterior group, which consists of 10 muscles arranged in superficial and deep layers. The superficial layer has 5 muscles, which originate from the lateral epicondyle of the humerus and the adjacent deep fascia via a common tendon, the common extensor tendon. They are arranged from radial to ulnar as follows. Extensor carpi radialis longus muscle. It descends to the dorsal side of the hand via its long tendon and inserts into the base of the 2nd metacarpal. Function: mainly extends the rest, and can also abduct the rest. 2. Extensor carpi radialis brevis muscle, located posteromedially to the extensor carpi radialis longus. It inserts into the base of the 3rd metacarpal. Function: extends and abducts the wrist. Say 3. Tensor digitorum muscle. Its belly transitions downward into 4 tendons, which pass through the dorsal side of the hand to the 2nd to 5th fingers respectively, near the metacarpal phalangeal heads. In the distal part of the dorsal hand, the 4 tendons are connected by intertendinous connections. When each tendon reaches the dorsal side of the finger, it expands laterally into a flat aponeurosis called the dorsal digital aponeurosis, inserting into the bases of the middle and distal phalanges. Function: extends the fingers and wrist deeper. Extensor digiti minimi muscle, a slender muscle attached to the medial side of the extensor digitorum. Its tendon transitions into the dorsal digital aponeurosis and inserts into the bases of the middle and distal phalanges of the little finger. Function: extends the little finger. I5. Ompristensor carpi ulnaris muscle. It inserts into the base of the 5th metacarpal. Function: extends the wrist and adducts the wrist. Through this class, we have learned about the arm muscles and forearm muscles. Next, we will start learning about the lower limb muscles. Thank you.